And so I'd like to read you this reading by Mary Oliver, who puts that into beautiful language. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundation, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late in your life, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and trees and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. And there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save, your own. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. Thank you for sharing. And actually, my wife was on board, and my kids 100% supported me in starting Kemper House, and thankfully, because it has been quite a journey. Next, Martina just mentioned that she would jump into the humorous role. So Martina, please share some humor with us.
When I was a grad student at Ohio State, I was offered an opportunity for a very small side job to go into clinics with patients to serve as an interpreter. Many of them don't speak English. And it's needs basis, so I thought, okay, I can handle that, got time. Then I was called one day to go into a clinic with an old lady for some blood work. I went on campus, very simple. I went in and she sat down and I started translating whatever they wanted me to translate. And they started on her blood work, drawing her blood. And I was standing right next to her, watching the whole procedure. And the moment that they started drawing her blood, I knew that all I could remember is that I was laying on the ground. I passed out when I saw her blood. Just a couple seconds after they started drawing, and that was my last day at that job. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully you didn't end up with a concussion or stitches and it cost you $1,500 for emergency room visit.
No, but I was told everybody had to come and help me instead of the patient. And this is not the interpreter that they want in medical.
Well, wonderful. Well, not only am I your Toastmaster, I'm your general evaluator, and we have a wonderful evaluation team today. To start off, it's going to be Susan, who is evaluating Dr. Brickey's. Dr. Brickey's speech is 8 to 10 minutes, I believe he mentioned. And then we also have Tally, who's speaking 5 to 7 minutes. And we will do a group evaluation for her before she heads out because she has a 12 o'clock Facebook Live event to be on. And then also we have a timer who is Cal. Cal, can you explain what the timer does, please?
Yes. Now I have Tally's speech is 8 to 10. Is that correct, or is it 5 to 7? 5 to 7. Okay. Yes. Dr. Brickey's speech is 8 to 10. When he reaches the 8-minute mark, my background will go from the beautiful capital of Ohio, Columbus, to green, and then at 9 minutes it will go to yellow, red at 10 minutes, and I will report back at the end, and I will change Tally's speech from 5 to 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. And then also, I always want to remind you that if you're a speaker, you can pin Cal's video onto your screen by going up to the upper right corner. You have 3 little dots. You do a little click on the drop down and it will say pin. And then at the end, you can unpin that by doing the exact same thing, but in reverse. Also, we have a grammarian today, Dr. David Nickel. And please, can you share with us what it is to be the grammarian?
Yes, the grammarian's ultimate role is to provide feedback for each person who speaks. Doesn't have to be the designated speech. Anybody who speaks is really the rule of it. And it's to look for language, word usage, because I'll tell you what, guys, when you hear somebody who's really has good word usage, speaks loudly, I mean, they have your attention. You have their attention, and it's really much more important than we even give it credit for in Toastmasters. And so to look at also at empty words like and and also to point out really beautiful pieces of language. But the ultimate thing is to give you feedback so that you can do something about that. And the word of the day is facsimile, and it means, you might think of it normally as something related to Xerox equipment, or a copy as a facsimile as a copy or reproduction of something, but we're going to use it in a different context because I want you to stretch yourself. And here's the way we're going to do it, in a familiar way. Many parents hope that their children will be facsimiles of themselves, but many children have other plans in mind, just like my daughter did. Facsimile. I bet Greg has a son who is a soccer coach who Greg might have wanted him to be a facsimile of himself, but I don't know how that went.
My son is a much better man than I am. There is no doubt. I've learned a lot from him.
Well, he's a facsimile plus of you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm marking myself 3 times already. 3 times I've said that.
Well, I've said it now once, so.
True.
Thank you, David. Thank you, evaluation team. I'll jump up at the end here and give my evaluation of the meeting itself. And also feel free, if you want to say an opinion or an idea for any of our speakers, or truly anybody, you can actually post that on the chat version as well. And you can do that privately or through a group. So please feel free to do that. Next is our speaking portion, and Dr. Bricky is going to be our first speaker. Pulling up his intro. So last week, Dr. Bricky had a part 1 to this speech, and the speech is entitled, I want to give a speech, but what can I talk about? One of the biggest problems in speech giving is figuring out what to talk about. And no, you're not the only one that struggles with that question. Dr. Bricky speaks on a wide variety of topics, and today he is a continuation of how he will try to help us figure out what to talk about. His speech is basically a speech to inform, so please help me welcome to the Zoom stage, Dr. Bricky.
Thank you, Greg. I want you to unmute. This is going to be kind of a clinic and interactive. Last week we played 20 questions and I only got through about 5 of them. We may only get through about 5 today, and maybe next year we'll do part 3 or something, maybe not. Cal, are you still with us? Okay.
Yes, no, I am. I'm sorry. I had an interruption there. I'm very sorry about that.
Okay, so some of what you missed last week is we want to know why you moved to Florida. We have steam rooms and saunas here. And you know a lot about motorcycles, fly fishing. Those would be good topics for you to talk about. I could imagine you doing some tall tales about, is it alligators or crocodiles you have?
Alligators.
Have you had any experience with them?
Well, yes, there are. Where I am is on a lake, Sarasota Lake, and there are some alligators in there. Now, there was one time, folks were talking down here about how this fellow saved his dog from an alligator, and the snowbirds are going, "Oh wow!" And the folks that live down here are going, "Oh come on, it was only a 4-footer," so yes, there are some alligators in the lake here.
Okay, so you have a whole bunch of topics that would make good speeches, plus your experiences at OSU, and you've probably met some of the players and coaches, etc. So I'm going to start with question number 6. Have you met or worked with any celebrities or famous people? Cal, have you?
Well, I can't say that I've worked with, but I have met many. My post at the stadium is the between my 2 sections that I usher is the only field access. So anytime someone is honored, they have to come through my section. I have met Hopalong Cassidy, John Glenn, about all the news folks, but John Glenn and Hopalong Cassidy are the 2 that come to mind.
Okay, so some great speech topics. Susan, in your job, you've probably met some celebrities or politicians.
Yes, I have met former and present governors, if that counts.
Oh, it sure does.
So I guess local celebrities. I've met some news people. So again, local celebrities. Yeah.
So you could talk about their personalities, whether they're really what they're like when they're relaxing as opposed to the media presence they give, and whether they're, well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but if it doesn't get you in trouble, whether they seem very genuine or snobbish or officious or whatever. One of my brushes with greatness, and I'm going to combine this with something else. One of the things you can do is if there's somebody whose style you really like say Paul Harvey, where he tells the story, but you don't know who he's talking about. In the very end, he says, and that person who had so many failures was Abraham Lincoln. And now you know the rest of the story. So I'm going to do this Cosell style, if you remember Howard Cosell. And Cal, this would be a good style for you to do. The year 1961. The mood was jubilant. Ohio State had won the Big Ten Conference and was destined to the Rose Bowl. But wait, a portly, pasty professor strode into the faculty senate and gave an impassioned speech how athletics was allegedly compromising academics at Ohio State. And that professor persuaded 28 professors to vote against sending the Ohio State University to the Rose Bowl, and only 25 voted for it, and Ohio State did not go. Woody Hayes said, it's wrong, but we have to follow the rules. Professor Fox received death threats and eventually moved to Brandeis University, and the university took steps that the faculty senate would never again be able to vote on the Rose Bowl or other bowls. By the way, Marvin Fox was one of my favorite professors. So this question, next question, number 7, is what are your favorite pet peeves? And Martina, I vividly remember, I don't remember if it was table topics or a speech you gave, but it's also one of my favorite pet peeves. Martina, how are you?
I remember this one.
Remind us what that was about.
So when I first came to the States, I felt that people are very warm and friendly because every time you encounter each other, people tend to ask how you are, how's your day. But later on, I found out when I'm about to give a really sincere answer, a lot of people just turn around and walk away without even hearing my answer. So that was a little shock to me at the beginning. And then I later on realized that that's the way that people greet each other. And some people really care. Some people probably just habit to. So
And a lot of comedians, what works is Seinfeld is a good example. They point out the most obvious things that are kind of stupid. I mean, it's not a sincere question. It's more like, hi. One of my favorite pet peeves is our government of Ohio has the audacity to advertise the Ohio lottery. Odds are you'll have fun. Well, no, odds are the vast majority of people are going to lose money, and I don't think that's much fun. So I think a nice little, at least humor bit, if not a whole speech, could be built around that. One that I heard recently that really galls me. I mean, most of you are pretty familiar with statistics. Botox for migraines. 95% of patients pay as little as $0. Well, as little as means they could be paying tens of thousands of dollars. It's a very deceptive commercial. I'm going to do a skit on that one. So does anybody else have some pet peeves that they might talk about?
I have a really strange one, and I deal with this at Kemper House all the time. I want the toilet paper to roll off the front and top of the dispenser versus the underneath, and it drives me crazy because my team constantly puts it underneath, and here I am almost daily flipping it around because it just drives me crazy. That is a definite pet peeve that probably has not a lot of meaning behind it.
Well,
With you.
you could have a speech where you secretly go around and put little sticky notes and reminders and all the things you do to try to get staff to do it right. This is not a small pet peeve. Ann Landers and Abigail Van Buren are advice column sisters. And that issue, one took each side, gathered more mail than any other issue they dealt with.
Mike,
Yes, Dave.
I'll give you two, and the first one will not surprise anybody probably, and that is, it is irritating to me, even if it's not to anybody else, that certain individuals use the word like when it's totally unnecessary in a consistent way, not just here and there, but in a consistent way. In the next level trainings that I went to, there was one course, the lady came as a trainer, came from California, and one of the sort of a star in next level got up and talked. He wasn't not a main guy, but he had 57 likes, and she really drilled him. And that took me by surprise and made me feel better. The second thing, Mike, is it's irritating to me if it's consistent, if a person is consistently late, comes in 5-10 minutes late to a meeting. Two of them.
Anyone else on pet peeves?
Yeah, I have one, but now I don't think it can any longer be a pet peeve. One of my pet peeves was people using the word irregardless. It's either irrespective or regardless. However, recently, irregardless was accepted as an official word by Webster. So I guess it can't be a pet peeve anymore. It's really a word.
That's awesome. My pet peeve is when I go walking and I have a sock that keeps like coming off my heel and I have to keep fixing it. That's a pet peeve.
Okay. So all of these are ones that could either be a humor section of the meeting or might even be a total speech. By the way, Greg, you might have one that you share with me. nurses used to be taught you never put your hands to your face. And I see nurses turning pages that way. And now it's even more important. Well, I see we only got through a couple questions and Cal's giving me the red light. So as I concluded last week, if you can't think of anything else, you can always do a new icebreaker speech. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Dr. Bricky. Now you have no excuse to not have something good to speak about, because we all have something in our life that is meaningful. And I know that Susan.
Oh, Greg, can I do one more?
Yes.
I wanted to do a shout out to Martina. Do you remember when you gave a speech on this?
Oh, you got a book?
I loved your talk about the alligator and the crocodile's marriage so much. I bought it, even though it's only in other languages like German. And if I were a marriage and family counselor, I'd buy dozens of these and give them to clients.
Hey,
Wow, credits to you. I could not get the book myself.
Mr. Toastmaster, I know I'm a little bit out of order, but hey, Mike, is there any chance that you could, if you have this written down, you could send us these two?
I will do that.
That will, I'll put it in my file. It can help me that way.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Toastmaster.
You're welcome. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I think I'm on. Our next speaker.
In and out.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna do my
Can't hear
best.
you.
I'm gonna do, no. Hello? You can't hear me?
Off and on, in and out.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch, can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am not going to move my phone, which has Tally's introduction on it, because every time I touch it, I go out. So I'm just going to say that Tally is our next speaker. She's going to be speaking 5 to 7 minutes. I read it and it was related to, oh, I'm having a brain fart. I'm sorry, Tally. Maybe you can just tell us what the principle behind it is. I'm so sorry.
Just jump right in with what it is. Good morning, afternoon, I guess now, fellow Toastmasters. I have a quote for you. Learn to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want. That's a quote by Jim Rohn. Some of you may know him. He is one of the people who has had a lot of influence on my life. I think he carries so much wisdom. And when I read this quote the first time, it connects right into a tension that I feel on a regular basis. And I personally haven't figured out a way to just cut that tension, but I've found ways to learn to live inside of that tension. I think it is a tension that we have where it's like we want to love our life. We want to enjoy deeply where we're at and be present and grateful. And we also want to not be complacent. We want to be having vision and growing and developing and stepping into more. And so how do we learn to live in this place where we're deeply grateful without complacency, where we love our life and we have vision for more? So I love this quote for that reason. Learn to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want. And so I would actually love if there's anybody that has, if we have some time at the end of this, to hear how you guys wrestle with that tension and some things that you do to support you in that. I've got a couple of things that have been supportive for me that I'll share with you. So one of them is, for me, has been to view life through the framework of being on a journey. So I used to have a lot more, I guess, black and white thinking, have this sense like there is a destination and I am trying to get to this destination. Like my life is about figuring out what the destination is and get myself to it. Almost like when you're maybe doing some kind of art, like if I'm painting a picture, the idea is to create this beautiful masterpiece. And that's the goal. And I have learned over the years, one of the things that supports me in this idea that we're talking about, really loving and living life fully while being in the process of growth and moving toward, is that the whole point of all of it is actually the journey itself. That it's not about getting to someplace, or it's not about creating this masterpiece of art. It is about the painting itself. It's the enjoying the choosing of color and feeling the brush strokes and engaging in the process of the creation of it all. It's not about just getting to the place I'm supposed to be getting to and hurrying to get there. It's about really enjoying the beauty of the landscape while I get there and the moments that are along the way. So for me, that's been one of the things. I remember the first time that whole idea of enjoying the journey came into my awareness, and I was actually planning for a trip. I was packing for a trip to go down to New Orleans with a girlfriend of mine and my little 2-year-old, and we were going to drive there. So it's like a 12-hour drive, a little bit of a hike. And with a 2-year-old, I was kind of in this mindset, like, let's just try and get there as fast as we can. Like, that was the mode I was in. And I remember hearing this, it was not audible, but it was very clear in my heart. This, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I was like, huh, okay. And so just slowed the whole thing down for me. And my attention was really drawn to enjoying the journey to get there. And it was a beautiful experience. I've maybe shared that with you before because it was a profound experience for me in my life. And it's really been a metaphor that's shifted a lot for me, being present to those moments along the way. And so for me, in that experience and in that metaphor, you know, we just stopped wherever we felt like stopping, and we would pull off the road and enjoy the sunset, or take a walk at a park that we passed, or stop at a farm stand. I know at one point we were driving and the stars were just amazing. So we pulled off of the highway onto this dirt road and got out of the car, blared the music, and just danced under the stars in the moonlight. And it was like a sweet, sweet moment that I still cherish to this day, with my little 2-year-old dancing around and just enjoying. And so I think when we can do that in life, when we can go, yes, we're going somewhere. And as a life coach, of course, vision is a huge part of what I do and what I bring, and setting goals and having a place that we're going, because that part of life is so fulfilling when we're growing, when we're not just stuck, when we're not stagnant in who we are. It's really significant part of having a fulfilling life. And also not just driving to get there, but really enjoying the moments along the way. So finding that place of tension in the journey of really going for what you want while deeply enjoying it as we go. So if anybody has anything they want to share really briefly, we're on green.
Well, you know, my opening piece, Tally, was a little bit along these same lines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On,
yeah.
Journey by Mary Oliver.
Yes. It's beautiful. That was a great poem, Dave.
Tally, it dovetails with what Mike Rudd has been talking about with bicycle trips. And
I didn't get to see is that a speech that he gave one of the weeks, or on his Instagram or something?
He's given speeches on bike trips several times.
Slowing down, just being able to see more when you're on a bike than in a car. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. It's a great connection.
Maybe we should do away with the interstate highways.
President Eisenhower.
But enjoy getting there more. Beautiful. Well, thank you guys for letting me share. And I hope this supports you in learning how to live more into the beautiful moments of your life while on a journey to get where you're going. Blessings.
Thank you, Tally. That's beautiful, beautiful message. It is about the journey. There's no doubt. And often you get to places and then you just look towards the next horizon, and it's very important to sort of find yourself in that moment, reflect back on that journey, and realize that's part of what we're going to do at Kemper House, is this crazy pandemic journey. We're going to do a lot of reflecting first part of this year, just looking at the things we've been through and the accomplishments we've made. So thank you for sharing that.
And Mr. Toastmaster, I once went to a career 2-day thing. And this guy said at one point, and guess what's over the next hill? He meant after you achieve that goal. And guess what's over the next hill? Another hill.
Yeah, that's right. It just keeps going. Next, we have our table topics master, who is Martina. Please help me welcome Martina.
Thank you, everyone. Today's table topic is related to stress relief. So we are going through a unique and difficult time, and we see that people are anxiety level has been increasing. So I would like to hear everyone's suggestions and recommendations on how and what techniques do you use to deal with and relieve stress. Hopefully we can all learn from you and help us dealing with our stress. I saw Dave, you want to go first?
Yes, Madam Table Topics Master. I have 2, maybe 3 suggestions as what works for me, and it may or may not work for you. But first of all, I like something physical, pretty extensive and draining. But what I've noticed, it's not just any physical activity. For example, I don't enjoy going to the Crunch over here or Power Shack, which has all kinds of machinery. I can do that, but I'm sort of always forcing myself to do that. Whereas if I go throw baseball, which I do almost year round, I'm throwing tomorrow outside because we can't get in the RPAC at OSU. And so the point is, choose an activity that you like and then do that activity and do it consistently. And the thing that I've also tried, which has not worked well for me, is some kind of meditation or mindfulness. My mind's so busy, which is not a good quality, not a good practice. But it has not worked for me. I guess it does for a lot of people. Like I know John Kabat-Zinn has a book on that. But my points are: choose the activity that you really enjoy and do it regularly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Who wants to go next?
I can
Tally?
go jumping in. Can you say the question one more time? Does it relieve stress?
What suggestions do you have for our friends when it comes to dealing with stress? How do you relieve it? What are the things that you do?
Yeah, for me, I would say a big one is laughter. Laughter really relieves stress for me. That's a good one. I think it's the brain chemicals that it releases. It's typically connective. It's with other people. I would say another one is getting out in nature and moving. So just going on a walk, being in nature, that's huge for me. And having connection with people who I feel like I can totally be my authentic self with. If I'm in a hard place, I can process that. If I'm really excited about something, they'll be excited with me. So having authentic connection with beautiful people in my life.
Thank you. And then Cal.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I believe the question is, when it comes to dealing with stress, what have either you done or what would you suggest? And I've actually adopted 2 different practices that I've tried to incorporate into my life daily. I do one in the morning and I do one in the evening, right before I go to bed. The first one is I've tried to incorporate some kind of exercise in the morning. I do 30 minutes every single day. It's nothing fancy, but I pick from a variety of tapes and I just pick one, put it in, and I just make myself do it every single day. And I'm amazed at how much that helps me, not only focus throughout the day, but also feel better. And I also rest better at night. And I think that has definitely helped with my stress level. And then toward the evening hours, when I'm kind of winding down, I always pick up a book, some kind of book. I usually have 2 or 3 going on at the same time, but I pick up something that I enjoy to read, and I read that, and that has kind of helped me also kind of wind down and deal with stress. So, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Good strategies. Right, Cal? You're on mute.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, there. Okay, I'm sorry. Trying to write down times and change backgrounds and all of that, and still haven't gotten it done. My advice for stress is music. I am big time into music, and I think we can use music to pretty much alter our moods. And if we're stressed, there's you know, I love classical music, and so you can put on the kind of music that will relieve your stress. As a matter of fact, I apologize for having to be away from the meeting. And Dr. Bricky, I think I was late starting your time. A young lady knocked on my door here with a list of songs that she wants to hear when I play music by the pool tomorrow afternoon. And I have my DJ system on my computer now, and all my songs on the computer. And just earlier this week, I hit the 4,000. I have over 4,000 songs downloaded on my computer. But if I'm stressed, that's what I do. I turn on some nice, soft, often classical music, and it does relieve my stress. And I forgot to time myself. I'm sorry.
Thank you for sharing. Mr. Toastmaster, do we have time? One more person? Okay. Anyone?
I agree that music, I mean, you could pick what you want. If you need to get more energy, you put on a Sousa march, if you want to be calm. But what works even better for me is I love old movies. And so I watch an awful lot of Turner Classic movies. There's a slower pace to it. And I think the music match is about the pace that your body wants, and the old movies fit that very well, and there's no commercials on Turner. The other thing I do, besides exercising like Susan, and I watch old movies while I'm doing it, is rather odd in that I start cleaning. And, it's almost like Snow White cleaning up the kitchen or something, but I think what it does is it gives a little more sense of control and beauty in my life and accomplishment.
Thank you. And I would say online shopping is very stress relief for me. Mr. Toastmaster.
Yeah, why not? Buy yourself something when you're stressed. Wonderful. That is a good topic. I know we're all dealing with stress, not only because of a pandemic, but this time of year, holidays can be very stressful for people. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Next is our evaluation, and our first evaluator is going to be Susan. She will be evaluating Dr. Bricky. So please help me welcome Susan Showalter.
Did you want Tally to go evaluate Tally first?
Oh, yeah, we probably should do that. Sorry about that. Is that okay, Susan?
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. I was thinking we would just do more of a group evaluation for Tally. Does anybody want to kick that off?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Briefly, Tally, are you still there? I thought your use of a quote at the very beginning was quite effective, and then you followed up with 2 examples which really illustrated that quote quite effectively. So I thought you were very smooth today. You have a beautiful persona projecting on the screen. That's really important. Beautifully dressed. And I thought it was really good. I didn't count a single by the way. So
Any likes, Dave? Any likes?
one. But it might have been used okay. You said almost like create the great nope, something or other. I wrote it down. I can't read my writing. The great mother. I can't. Sorry, but it might have been okay in that context. But you're making progress, Tally.
All right.
You're making progress.
Thanks for being part of that.
You're up to a B plus
All right. Cool.
in terms of likes usage.
Anybody else?
Don't hold back, guys. Give me some
Anybody else?
constructive feedback.
I can just mention a few things. I did like the way that it was opened with a quote, and I was actually going to suggest you repeat the quote. As soon as I was going to suggest that, you repeated the quote, which was awesome. So you nailed that. And I just thought it was very focused. The message was clear. I don't know how you organized yourself. Maybe, you know, it being 5 to 7 minutes made it a little bit easier, but it seemed like it was very smooth, very strong message. I don't really have a lot of suggestions of improvement, so I apologize for that. Does anybody have a suggestion for improvement? Cal does. Yes.
One very, very minor one, and that is you occasionally, and on other speeches too, you reach over to adjust your phone or something. And I find that just a little bit distractive. I mean, if I searched long and hard to find ways to improve because, you know, you do a great job every time. I think what I like most about your speeches is you always give us a takeaway. A lot of times people forget to do that, you know, and to give us a takeaway, and you take quotes like it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, and you make it come alive, and you really help us to see what that, it's more than a quote. You help us to see what it really means.
Thank you, Cal. When I'm reaching for things, is it off screen or is it toward the screen?
Toward the screen. It's with your right hand, you reach over toward the screen. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a major thing. Like I say, I was looking hard and I found that little tiny thing to suggest. That's all I could find.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's where I had my notes. So that's good to know that I did that. I didn't even realize that I did. So thank you for that feedback. Dr. Bricky, you always have good stuff.
I'm just amazed how you make it look like you're not even using notes, and your eye contact is always right on, right into the camera.
What I have one of these little sticky, this is like one of those little sticky things. And I take my phone, which has my notes on it, like on a Google Drive, and then I stick it right underneath the camera.
Oh,
It works.
So I actually see myself on the screen because it covered up me and one other person, but I had it on there for minutes. So that's, I don't think it's probably like super tacky, but it gets the job done, and it has me looking pretty close to the camera.
where do you get that piece, Tally? What do you call that piece? Where it attaches to your-
They've got them. It's a gel pad. I don't know. My mom got it for my son to put his iPad on or something. You can use it for all kinds of things, but
Is it magnetic, or how does it hold it?
no, it's like really sticky, and you have to get it wet to like get it re-sticky, because it'll sometimes get like whatever fuzz on it or something.
Learn something major every day.
For what it's worth, that's my little tip of the day.
I noticed your screen is very vertical today.
Yeah, I'm on my iPad because my assistant
Oh, okay.
uses my computer. So if I can turn
and
it so that it's wide, but then my camera's over here.
I like the original vertical, and if you want to look taller, it makes you look taller.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the camera's not in the center, it's on the side. So to see everybody, I look like I'm looking way off screen, I feel like. So I did it this way. Do you guys have a preference from your
That way.
perspective?
Show us-
Vertical?
Show us the two options. Show us the options.
Okay, here's vertical where the camera's in the center at the top, and here it is horizontal. So, but when I'm like to look at the camera, I can't really see anybody else. So if I'm looking at Dave Nickel right now, who's in the top right corner for me, I feel like I'm looking way off center.
You are.
You better go with vertical.
Yep.
The other thing is it has novelty.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Well, there we go then. Thanks for the feedback, guys.
I wanna add on, Tally, when you make a speech, you never know that the impact that you're going to place on people, I would say this quote and what you shared means a lot to me. I am the type of person that's goal-oriented, and when I look back, I regret that I did not enjoy the journey for most of the journeys. Like even one time when we drove from Ohio to California across the country, we didn't even stop at many places. We just drove all the way and had a really tiring journey. Now, thinking about what you shared, I really should pause and enjoy moments. One suggestion that I have is if you could share with us, how do you do it? I mean, it's a homework for everyone, I think. However, a little tips or guidance on how do you get to what you're talking about will help
Great.
us start thinking about how we could improve our, yeah. So
Maybe
I
I'll do that.
appreciate your topic.
That's great, Martina. I love that. Great feedback.
So
Thank you, guys. Make
Tally,
sure
Alright.
gets feedback.
I did get the piece where you said, almost like creating this great masterpiece, which I think is okay there. I found what I'm trying to tell you.
Awesome. Cool.
All right, gang.
Hey,
We're done. Good job, Tally. Go knock it dead. We appreciate
appreciate
it.
Dr. Rick, I'll give you feedback real quick before I go. Thank you so much for that speech. I love you just expanding us as a club, leaning into and giving creativity for and inspiring new ideas. I feel like it's one of your strong points. The diversity that you bring to your speeches is beautiful. So thanks for expanding that to us. Sorry, I gotta go, guys.
All right,
Love
bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Our next evaluator is Susan, and we'll let her roll. We have 5 minutes left, so we'll be perfect.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Dr. Bricky. Dr. Bricky gave a speech to inform today. It was 8 to 10 minutes. And this was part 2 of I want to give a speech, but what can I talk about? Now, I want to just say that I personally really enjoyed the series. I think it was very helpful. I think we all needed to hear these ideas, and you bring a lot of ideas to the group. I loved how you started off and it was interactive. You told us all to unmute and you engaged us all from the beginning. And I think that was really key. That was really important. I like how you asked us all questions. Now this was part 2. So you started out with question 6. Have you worked with celebrities or famous people? And then you actually called on several of us to talk about, and maybe by talking about those examples, maybe jogging some of our other memories. And I thought that was good. Question 7, pet peeves. I thought that was a really good question. And again, it was calling on people in the club and having them talk about their pet peeves so that the things that they talk about might jog someone else's memory to get a good speech topic. I thought those were good. What did the speaker do well? Dr. Bricky, you do so many things so well. Great vocal variety, good hand gestures. You have a nice use of humor that you put in your talks, which is really good and really engaging. And I loved how you morphed into character in one of your examples. I thought that was really interesting and really fun, and it kind of added to your talk. Now, what could the speaker do to improve this? And I've seen you in action many times, Dr. Bricky. You are an amazing speaker. You do a great job. My only thing is this was such good information. I was a little disappointed that we only got through 2 more questions. So I don't know if maybe just keep the examples from the rest of us down to like 2 or 3 so that you can get further down your list. Or my preference is maybe just have a part 3 of the speech. So great job as always. I enjoyed it very much. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Susan. Great evaluation. I love how you were following that format. That's the way they should go. Thank you. Next is a report from our grammarian, David Nickel. Please help me welcome David.
Yes, sir, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. Evaluator in this case. You know, overall, the club did one of the very best jobs of unforced errors by me not using ums, and I think Tally's use of like was okay in that context. So that was really a tremendous plus. Mike had 5 or 6 uhs, I got mixed up, which is, you know, like I said, it's really good, really good. Put me down as having said one like in unnecessarily. Cal, I really liked you got right to the point in your table topics. Music. Well, music, you said. I like to see the main thing put first and then elaborate secondarily, and we don't always do that. But overall, Mr. General Evaluator, I don't have much more to and I usually write 3 or 4 pages of notes, and I only have 1 page. So that's it, Mr. General Evaluator.
But you're an old softie today.
Yeah, correct.
And Cal, can you give us a timing report, please?
I see
Yes. On the
everybody
2
questions, right?
speeches, Dr. Bricky was 10 minutes, 38 seconds, and I think I was late getting started on that. I apologize for that. Had that interruption. Tally's speech was 6 minutes, 33 seconds. Table topics, David 120, Tally 119, Susan 118, Michael 50 seconds. Evaluation, Susan was 2 minutes, 44 seconds. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for wrapping that so quickly. Well, I do not have too many updates. You know, we're still looking to first quarter, hopefully get back in the classroom, and we'll just see. We'll weigh that as things move forward, but it's looking promising just because of the vaccine coming out. So that's a good thing. And then next week, I already have 2 speakers lined up, so I'm pretty pumped about that. So that really makes my job a lot easier, whoever's the Toastmaster. So thank you for those speakers. Other than that, I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, but I want you all to have a great week. Go ahead, David.
One question I want to ask Mike again, will he be sending those different categories by email, Mike? Will you be sending them that way, or?
I'll send them to Greg and he can distribute them to the group.